Hello everyone, and thank you for joining Partstat, a place where we're sustaining today's technology for many tomorrows. My name is Michael Stratton, the Director of Marketing here at Partstat, and with me I have Dennis Menefee, the CEO, and Michael Carpino, the Vice President of Sales. Today these gentlemen are going to be taking you through Partstat's Factory Direct End-of-Life Semiconductor Solutions. If you have questions along the way, please use the chat box in the GoToWebinar window, and we'll try to answer them all at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis to kick us off. Dennis?
Hey, thanks, Michael, and thanks everyone for attending our WebEx today about our EOL last time buy solution. As Michael stated, each of our solutions are designed to assist companies in sustaining their technology for many tomorrows. Before we get started, first I'd like to give you a little bit of background on Partstat. Partstat is an ISO 9001-2015 and AS9120B certified company. Our headquarters is in Winter Springs, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando. And we also have an office in Shanghai to provide support to our global customers manufacturing in that region. Partstat has been in business for almost 30 years. Today, we're going to be discussing how electronic manufacturers are especially susceptible to production and service delays brought on by EOL last-time buys, and how Partstat is filling a void to support these companies with a factory direct solution. Partstat mitigates this supply chain disruption by providing an unprecedented solution for end-of-life last-time buys. We will buy and store up to 20 years of EOL inventory direct from the component manufacturer before the last time buy date using our capital and infrastructure. These are some of our customers, and we found that all of our customers had one thing in common. They were deploying large amounts of their cash each year to secure EOL components to ensure business continuity. Each of these customers selected Partstat after auditing our facilities and processes. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Carpino, and he's going to share some feedback we've received from some of our customers in regards to the challenges they face when dealing with an EOL last time buy issue.
Thanks, Dennis. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I would say that we've kind of run into maybe 5 major concerns that a lot of our OEM customers are running into when dealing with end-of-life obsolescence. A lot of our customers seem to be OEMs in the medical industry and also the aerospace industry and even industrial. The cost to redesign is very, very expensive. You know, typically design might be several years old, but it's been approved by the FDA or the FAA, and it's very difficult to redesign a part into those builds, and it can be quite exorbitant. And there's other companies who are not really regulated, but even in some industrial companies just have platforms that are have been around forever. Their customers love them, and they still need to produce them, or they have a very large installed base. So redesign cost is certainly a major factor as we're dealing with last time buy challenges. And I think every sourcing leader that we talk to always talks about how last time buys are a surprise, right? They just kind of come up out of the blue. No one's really expecting them. It's really hard to determine when they're going to rise, and typically they're not budgeted, right? So if you've got a last time buy that comes up for $1 million or $200,000 or $10 million, it's never really in the budget. And you know, when our sourcing leaders for our customers are going to their finance departments are looking at them cross-eyed and saying, you know, are you kidding me? You want to take some of our working capital and invest it in inventory? That's the absolute last place finance or any company really wants to invest their capital would be into inventory. One of the major reasons is because of inventory carrying costs. Inventory carrying costs are much more than just the cost of capital. You've got inventory service costs, which can include insurance and taxes, and of course, you know, storage costs, which would be warehousing. Even if the OEMs have to make their last time buys, typically they don't have the wherewithal to store and potentially fulfill those last time buys out to their contract manufacturers over several years. Many of our OEMs seem to be dealing with contract manufacturers. So these are really the major challenges that our customers are seeing. So once again, the way we're addressing these challenges is in our value prop, and what we're saying here today is Partstat will come in and we'll purchase the inventory for you, and we'll hold it for you up to 20 years to satisfy, to help with your, to help support your long-term platforms. And number one on the list in terms of benefits is you're preserving working capital, right? You're not having to spend your own dollars. Partstat to date has saved well over $200 million of working capital for our customers. Finance loves the fact they don't have to spend their dollars on inventory because they want to reinvest in ROIC. There's a much better return when you're investing capital on ROIC versus inventory for sure.
Yeah, having those dollars available to deploy toward projects that are going to improve ROIC for our customers has been a real huge benefit for our customers.
Oh, it is, because everybody knows that inventory carrying costs are very expensive, and a lot of our customers, the sourcing executives, sourcing leaders, always talk about how they have monthly, weekly, maybe daily meetings about reducing inventory, and it's because of inventory carrying costs. We've seen inventory carrying costs range. Our customers are reporting anywhere from the low end of 12% to the high end of 25%. So nobody wants to spend money on inventory for sure. I spoke about supporting long-term platforms. One other benefit of our program is that we're eliminating price inflation. If you have a 7-year agreement with us, the price is locked in during that entire term. So price inflation is kept in check. So those are the benefits.
Yeah, and historically in the electronics industry, especially when components transition to obsolescence, you can expect a 5x or 10x the price that was typically paid. That's one of the beauties of our program, is that when the day that we purchase the inventory, all the costs are locked in. If it's a 7-year term, if it's a 15-year term, the unit price of that component is not going to change over that term.
Yeah, absolutely. And along with that point, Dennis, too, is all of the components are direct from the manufacturer. You mentioned sometimes when parts have gone obsolete, now they're in the open market, in the broker market, and that's where those prices come into play. So 2x, 3x, and now those customers are having to deal with counterfeit part mitigation.
Yeah, and there's a big quality question there, right? And the fact that we're purchasing these before the last time buy date directly from the component manufacturer is huge, because it puts all the lineage of the component in place so that they can properly support their products and have confidence in mind knowing that they've got authentic product.
Absolutely.
So we've executed over 200 last time buys with some of the top component manufacturers and suppliers in the world. Some of these transactions could be, that you see on the screen, could be one purchase, or it could be an accumulation of purchases from that component manufacturer. We also work in synergy with other authorized distributors like Arrow and Adnet, you see them on here as well, to provide this EOL solution for their customers, as their hold periods usually for these distributors are less than 1 year. So this solution is gaining a lot of traction with component manufacturers because of the benefits it provides for them as well. It also provides their customers a softer landing when dealing with an EOL last time buy issue. So obviously when we buy the inventory, we've got to be able to store it and fulfill it. And obviously, Michael, we lean on our infrastructure to do that.
We do. A lot of our customers, when they first hear about the solution, they think about saving working capital and the other financial benefits of the program. But at the end of the day, we specialize in electronic storage and handling services here at Partstat. So we have all the processes and protocols in place to properly handle electronic components, including following JEDEC standards, and we have secured climate controlled warehouses, of which we're going to talk about our vault next. But we do worldwide fulfillment. We ship overseas all the time, and we have reporting services which I think are especially poignant for some of our customers. Dennis, you had a point here on reporting services.
Yeah, the consumption reporting that we're providing, usually the feedback we hear from customers, they'll come to us and they're on their fourth or fifth last time buy. And so the feedback we hear from customers is that when they're put in the EOL situation to make a last time buy, what typically happens is they lean on their forecast, and when everybody knows that's more of an art than a science. So typically they're not buying enough of the last time buy inventory. And so this consumption reporting that we provide throughout the term lets customers has a visual into if they're over consuming. If they are, we then can go back to the factory before that last time buy window closes and purchase more of the end of life components.
And to that point too, Dennis, there have been some instances where last time ship dates have actually passed, but because we had made the initial last time buy purchase direct from the manufacturer, we have been able to go back in some instances and have been successful at having them produce a little bit more.
That's right.
Of course, it all depends on the fab line if they had taken the fab line down or not by that.
Right.
Oh, last point, we are the liaison between our customers and the component manufacturer, so we do all warranty administration, failure analysis help, and can certainly assist with any RMAs.
That's right. So obviously, how this critical EOL inventory is stored is very important, and just having insurance coverage is not enough security. If the inventory is damaged, and we're talking about end-of-life inventory, so if this inventory is damaged by any event, it may represent millions of dollars in downstream revenue that can't be realized because the part is no longer manufactured. That's why we built a semiconductor vault inside our warehouse in our Winter Springs headquarters facility. This vault protects this critical EOL inventory from fire, flood, and any other type of natural disaster. Interesting sidebar on this vault. This vault is actually used at times to store the Declaration of Independence. So it's a very high level of security. It's got its own ESD. It's magnetically shielded, air conditioned, humidity controlled. And it's got some other really neat features how we protect those EOL components.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to clarify that the actual Declaration of Independence is not here at Partstat.
Yeah, it's not.
But a vault similar to is similar to the same technology and company, actually.
Yeah.
One neat feature is the clean agent fire suppression system. I know it's kind of boring to be excited about that, but I am, only because the customer has reported to us before where, they've stored parts themselves, they've taken them down from the shelf, and they've opened the box up, and there's some kind of brown goo on it they couldn't figure it out. They did research on it. They did all kinds of analysis, and they figured out it was the sprinkler system in the building leaking onto the parts. With a clean agent fire suppression system inside the vault, if there's any type of fire, an inert gas will be administered and immediately take the fire danger out, but it doesn't spread any moisture and not even any residue onto your parts. So we're really we understand here that we're protecting much more than just the value of the parts we're storing. We're protecting our customers' downstream revenues, be that further production or their service commitments.
Yeah, the vault is just another piece of innovation on how we sustain their technology. So also inside the vault, we do provide die and wafer banking. And again, this could be, we can store materials if you already own them, but and many of our customers come to us and they want us to buy and store. So die and wafer is part of that. Some customers, because of different reasons, they choose to purchase in die form. And then we provide these high-tech dry cabinets inside of our vault for die and wafer banking. And these dry cabinets are state-of-the-art, and they can hold relative humidity levels to less than 1%. So that wraps up our presentation today, and hopefully we covered a lot of things and was insightful to you on a new way to secure this end-of-life inventory. And I think now we have some time for some Q&A, Michael.
Yes, so we do have a couple questions here that I'm going to kind of trade off between you, Dennis, and you, Michael. Questions that actually, to tell you the truth, we get quite often from our OEM customers especially. So I guess we'll start with, Michael, this would be a good one for you. what are the parameters of the program? Meaning, you know, how small, how large, and also how many years?
Good question. So really, we can do transactions as small as $200,000 up to transactions that are $20 million plus. And I mean $20 million plus. We have the ability to do much larger transactions if possible or if needed, and of course everything in between there. As far as term, they can be as long as 1 year and up to 20 years. And that's really what separates us from everybody out there. Is nobody's going to hold inventory that long. What we're trying to do is match our customers' needs, be it service needs or you know, long-term production. I'd say probably the average transaction term is about 7 years with our program. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And kind of piggybacking off of that, Dennis, this would be a good one for you. What types of inventory can you purchase?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, some of this solution has really expanded on what we can do because the customers have really driven it to do so. You know, this started out as a board level. We buy all board level type components. It's electronic components and semiconductors of all types. Could be die and wafer, but it's grown into hard drives, graphic cards, displays, all types of inventory. We even can expand out beyond maybe what we could hold in our warehouse, and we could provide ownership on a consignment level. So lots of flexibility on the types of products that we can purchase through the solution. We've also had some contract manufacturers who build boxes for OEM customers where we may have purchased and supplied them with some of the raw material components that go inside those boxes. And then when the contract manufacturers get done building the boxes, we can actually purchase that material, that inventory as well. So a very diverse type of products that we can purchase under the program.
Awesome. Thank you, Dennis. No doubt that adds value to our audience here for sure. So, Michael, I guess I'll give you the next question, and we have time for about 2 more questions, and then we'll conclude the webinar. So, Michael, where actually do you purchase this? Where does Partstat purchase this inventory from?
Where do we purchase it from? That's a good question. I'm glad somebody asked that because it's important to note that we don't do any independent sourcing whatsoever. Typically what happens is the OEM already has the relationship with the component manufacturer, right? The component manufacturer has gone into the OEM and has won the design, right? They have their part on the board. Typically, the OEM is coming in and introducing us to the transaction. Once again, to qualify for the program, all product needs to come directly from the component manufacturer or their authorized distributor. So typically, it is through the OEM, and it's in some cases direct from the component manufacturer, and in some cases from their authorized distributor.
But it's always a direct source.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome. And then, Dennis, this next question would probably be for you. Someone's asking, can you ship and bill my contract manufacturing partners if I use contract manufacturing?
Yes, we can. That's a great question. We have currently today we have many of our OEM customers who are using contract electronic manufacturers, and so what they opt to do is roll the cost of our solution up into the unit price. And then as we're fulfilling to their contract manufacturer and invoicing the contract manufacturer, and the contract manufacturer then pays those invoices, they're essentially covering the liability of the agreement that we have with the OEM. So many of our OEM customers are using contract manufacturers. We understand that, and that's why we had to bake that type of solution into this program.
Awesome.
Just to add to that, Dennis, you know, you mentioned contract manufacturers. Let me tell you, they love this solution because they recognize the kind of the conflict that happens between an OEM and a contract manufacturer when it has to do with obsolescence. Nobody wants to purchase that inventory. Nobody wants it on their books, and that's exactly what our solution satisfies. Is we purchase it.
Not only that, this puts an enormous amount of cash pressure on contract manufacturers.
Exactly.
Awesome. And I know that we're out of time here for our 20-minute window that we wanted to stick to, but I want to get to one last question, and this will be for Michael, because this is actually a question we get far too often, especially from our OEM customers. How do you save on inventory carrying costs, those annual inventory carrying costs? How do you do that?
Oh, I'm surprised this is the last question because I think that's a weakly veiled question on what's our pricing.
Yeah, yeah.
So we actually do save money on inventory carrying costs. And if I could just explain, typically what's happening is an OEM, if they're purchasing inventory, the inventory carrying cost consists much more of just the cost of capital, right? It's more than just the cost of the money. It's inventory service costs, which can include insurance and taxes and labor administration, and also in actual storage costs, which is, real estate and warehousing. Our customers report to us that they have inventory carrying costs that range anywhere from the low side of 12% annualized to as high as 25% annualized. Of course, our pricing is dependent on the size of the transaction and the term, but what I can say is that our pricing can typically save our customers about 50% of the cost that they would spend otherwise. So that is 50% of the inventory carrying costs that I just described.
Yeah, and on every scenario, we always show our customers, here's how much capital or cash you're preserving in this purchase, and here's the annual inventory carrying savings. So we show that on every proposal.
That's a good point.
Awesome. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Michael, for taking us through Partsstat's Factory Direct end-of-life semiconductor solution. That's all the time that we have today, ladies and gentlemen, but please reference our LinkedIn page, Partstat, on LinkedIn, where we're going to answer any additional questions we didn't get to on the webinar. Apologies for that if we missed your question, but please reference our LinkedIn page for that, as well as the webinar recording we will be posting to that page as well. Thank you for joining us, and have a fantastic rest of your day.